An ice cream van pulled up to our neighborhood and gave ice cream to every kid, but when my son walked up, the man laughed and said, "No ice cream for black kids." He drove off, and my son came into the house crying and asked me if something was wrong with his skin. I hugged him and said, "That man is the problem, not you, and when he comes back I'll prove it." My son smiled, and next week the ice cream van again rolled into the neighborhood. After everyone got their ice cream, my son stepped up and gave the man $1, but he threw the dollar back at him and rolled his eyes. "I told you, no ice cream for black kids." But while that was happening, I snuck behind his ice cream van and used my job as a clamper to lock a yellow clamp onto his back wheel. He could no longer move. That's when my son pulled out his phone and took a picture of the man and his van and sent it to his class group chat saying, "This man won't sell me ice cream because I'm black." The man noticed the phone and panicked and instantly jumped into the driver's seat to take off. But when he pressed the accelerator, nothing happened. His face shifted in confusion as he tried and tried again, but he just couldn't move. That's when he noticed he had been clamped and saw me smirking at him with my clamping equipment. He got out of his van, red in the face, and stormed over to me and demanded I remove the clamp. But then the kids from my son's group chat came running down the street. They were carrying eggs, pies, and spray paint. They yelled, "So you're being racist to our friend?" Before he could even react, they started throwing eggs at his van and spray painting "racist" on the side. The man's face fell and he ran over to stop them, but then my son's best friend threw a pie in his face and knocked him down. While he was on the ground, my son ran into his van and took all of his ice cream. He split it with all his friends and they ran off. The man got up and got back in the van with his pie-covered face, but when he turned the key, he punched his steering wheel in anger as he realized he was still clamped. His car alarm started blaring, and now the whole neighborhood was coming out to see what the noise was. My dad smashed my PlayStation 5 and said, "No more video games in this household." So I downloaded an educational app that has games on it, thinking he wouldn't get mad. But to my dad, it still looked exactly like a regular video game, and it pissed him off. I tried explaining, "It's not a game, Dad, I'm learning." But Dad said, "Looks like a game to me. Put it away, or else I'm gonna smash your phone next." I was really sad because the one educational app I downloaded was about the stock market, and it was actually teaching me how to invest. So I got sneaky. I played the app's trivia games with the phone hidden under a book, tapping answers between the pages. I answered 3 in a row, and the screen lit up. "You've earned 1 free stock of Apple Inc. The app rewarded you with actual stocks for getting trivia questions right." So I jumped up from excitement. "Yes!" Dad looked over from the couch. "What was that?" I scrambled. "Just, my favorite character in the book just won." Dad's jaw tightened. "Read quieter." But he was suspicious of me now. So the next time when I was on the app, I clicked on the auto invest feature when I heard my dad's footsteps right behind me. I swiped out of the app and acted like I was just turning a page. Dad stopped right in front of me and held out his hand, signaling to hand the phone over. I placed it in his palm. He searched the screen for a long moment, then found nothing. He started handing it back, and I let out a small breath of relief, thinking I was safe. But that's when a notification buzzed in his hand. "Level up. Auto invest made you plus $83 this week." The notification glowed on the lock screen. Dad's eyes moved across it. His eyes narrowed on me. I stood up. "Dad, it's not." Dad slammed the phone down on the tile. The screen shattered. He brought his foot down on what was left until the pieces stopped moving. "And I'm not buying you a new one." But it wasn't over, because the next morning I walked into the house with a brand new iPhone I bought from investing money. Dad stopped mid-sip. "Where did you get that?" I opened the Bloom investing app I've been using and turned the phone toward him. "I paid for it myself. Remember I told you about the learning game?" Dad shook his head. "That's not possible. 15-year-olds can't open stock accounts." I scrolled to the account page. "Bloom lets teens invest through a custodial account. Grandma signed off when I opened it." I scrolled to the balance, and his jaw dropped because he was proved wrong. I was doing a lab experiment in chemistry class when I passed out and hit the floor. When I opened my eyes, my lab partner stood over me and said, "Dude, you just collapsed." I looked around confused because I had no idea what happened. The whole class was staring. My chemistry teacher, Mrs. Brewer, marched over with her fists tight. "Get up. You're disrupting my class with your attention-seeking behavior." But I passed out. I didn't do it on purpose. She didn't care, and that's when I knew she was hiding something. She slammed her notebook on the desk. "Principal's office. Now." I stood up dizzy and walked out. Why did I pass out in her class? The next day, Mrs. Brewer set up another lab experiment, but halfway through, a kid 2 tables over dropped. Then his partner fainted. Then the girl next to me passed out on the lab table and knocked over a beaker. I knew something was very, very wrong. Suddenly, I felt extremely dizzy, and I knew if I didn't leave, I would collapse again. So I ran out of the classroom without even asking for permission. From a distance, I could see through the classroom window. 3 more kids had passed out. Mrs. Brewer stood at her desk, arms crossed, not moving or doing anything to help them. I saw the principal walking past me and ran to him. I pointed at the lab. "Kids are collapsing in Mrs. Brewer's class right now. You need to help them." He walked back with me, looked through the window, and rolled his eyes like I was being annoying. "This is that new TikTok trend. You're not gonna trick me. It's not a trend. This is serious." He put his hand up. "Stop fooling around and get back to class." He walked away and didn't even try to investigate what was going on. The next day, I walked into class wearing a face mask that covered my mouth and nose because I wanted to do everything I could to make sure I didn't pass out again. Mrs. Brewer was standing at the board writing when her body went limp, and this time she was the one to collapse and hit the floor. The class panicked. Someone called 911. Medics rushed in and carried her out. Finally, the principal ran into the classroom to investigate. He looked at her desk and saw a chemical bottle tipped over with liquid dripping onto the floor. He saw her notebook opened next to it. None of us knew what was going on, but when he read the pages of the notebook, he finally explained. She was poisoning the lab experiments to see what effect it would have on you guys. Every time one of you passed out, she logged it. Names, dates, dosages. The bottle that spilled on her desk was the same poison she'd been putting in our experiments. We weren't her students. We were her lab rats. But why would she do that? I asked. The principal shrugged. I think she just hates her job.